Hey there, folks. I'm Matt Hansen,
And I'm John Johnson.
and you're listening to
Planes, Trains, and Comic
Books, the podcast where we discuss favorites we've reread, comics we want to read, and everything in between.
And here's the comic we picked this week.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Planes, Trains, and Comic Books. This week, we're continuing our travel down the Frank Miller Dark Knight universe with the comic Dark Knight Strikes Again. And for some reason, I found out this is, I already kind of knew this, but this is a very, very hated book. Everybody hates this book, apparently. I don't know. Did you read anything about it or know anything about this, John, before?
Not from except for what you told me. And going into it, I was like, okay, well, we'll see why this is bad. This will be our first bad one, really. And then after reading it, I was like, the art is not quite up to, I guess, the par of the greatest comic.
At least what's known for Frank Miller's greatest work.
But the story was pretty great, so I don't get the hate.
I felt, looking at the art, I was definitely like, okay, I can see why people don't like this art compared to the, Dark Knight Returns.
Again, there are some moments I was like, ooh, like there was a couple panels, but overall, like it was fine.
Right. We'll get into it a little more, but yeah, just so everybody knows, this book is kind of not liked by everybody, especially as the follow-up. It's supposed to be the sequel to The Dark Knight Returns. And that book being so amazing for everybody, I guess it left a bad taste in their mouth and they don't really want to give it a shot.
Kind of thinking about it now, it kind of makes me think of, just because of how long it was, because this came out in 2001, so
right.
This is almost like a Star Wars situation too. You have this like fantastic piece that everybody loves, and then so the hype for this is so big, and maybe that's what it was.
I think that's what it is. Because if this came out, art and all, if this came out, okay, maybe updated art like for the nowadays digital art, but if the art was the same, they just colored it with modern color, software. I think it would be taken fine as far as like if it wasn't part of a series, if it just came out on its own, it would be fine. I think everybody would be like, wow, this is a different and interesting voice. So we'll get into it more, but so yeah, let's start. So this book is like you said, from 2001, written and drawn by Frank Miller again, and it was 3 issues long. And they're like, once again, kind of big fat issues. I think they're about 50 to 60 pages each. So lots of story, lots of stuff going on. And I really like this one because it had a lot more characters from the DC universe in it, which I thought was fun. But first off, I guess we'll start like Batman is alive. At the end of the last one, we knew he was alive, but the world doesn't know he's alive. And in fact, the world doesn't even know Superman is around anymore. Like, it seems like all the heroes have gone underground.
Yeah.
And not because they want to, but because, like, the government has, like, decided, or has, like, basically blackmailed them all into just working for them and not showing themselves to the public.
It's been like 3 years since Batman died?
Yeah, it's been 3 years. 3 years since Dark Knight Returns. So, yeah, since he died, in quotation mark.
At the end, yeah.
Yeah. So we got this guy named President Rickard, who's like the head of, or he's like the president, and he's he looks the part and everything. I guess Reagan died, or whatever, they've moved on, and but we see later on, we find out that like actually, and it's funny because like Jimmy Olsen and The Question are 2 characters that are like onto this, and Jimmy Olsen's kind of like an Alex Jones kind of guy in this, like a little bit more respectable, but like people are willing to hear him out, but then he's still like, it's a conspiracy, folks. They're trying to, the government's trying to take you over, and he like him and The Question both figure out that because there was like a glitch while the president was having like one of his addresses to the people, and his whole like person just got fuzzy all of a sudden for a second and then went back. So it was like a glitch in the Matrix kind of thing.
Yeah, everybody's like, what the hell?
Yeah. Well, everybody wasn't. it was like they were like, oh, it's just a glitch, no problem with the TV. And Jimmy's like, no, it's not a glitch with the TV. The TV stayed fine, except the president. He glitched. And so, like, basically they find out the question, and Jimmy find out that, like, the president is actually Lex Luthor and Brainiac, and they're working together, like, to, like, basically make everybody, I don't know if it's the world or America only. It seems like maybe just America, because they kind of only focus on America. But at the same time, they, like, have weapons pointed at the rest of the world, so I don't know if we're just, like, the ultimate superpower now. Yeah, so, like, they're in control, but no one knows that except Superman and Wonder Woman and Captain Marvel. Or Shazam. And so, yeah, and basically they've been able to make Captain Marvel and Superman and Wonder Woman, like, follow them because they have... they've got Kandor, the city that's shrunk down from Kryptonians, that Brainiac shrunk down, like, way back in the day. They have Kandor, like, for ransom, or, like, they have it, like, they'll say we'll kill Kandor if you don't follow us, Superman, and that's, like, his whole race. So he's like, okay, I'll do whatever you say. So one thing I really liked about the beginning of this is Ray Palmer, the Atom, how he was introduced. You wanna?
Oh yeah, no. That was cool, and I have to say, this is really, honestly, this is my first dive into that character because, like, I know who I've heard of the Atom, and I've, like, knew about what his powers were, but I had never really seen it, and it was a really cool introduction.
Yeah,
there's this guy. He's basically like, it looks like he's on, like, some, like, shore side, and he's fighting these, like, sea creatures, these giant, like, fuzzy tentacle things. And he sees, like, this really bright light, and so he, like, kind of, like, starts swimming out to it, even though there's these, like, tentacle-y
well, it
creatures.
says he's been there. He's like, I don't know how long I've been here.
Yeah.
And, like, these goddamn tentacle monsters keep coming, and I have to eat them, like, raw because I don't have fire and stuff.
Yeah. And so he goes towards the light, and basically he realizes that he's in a petri dish.
Well, yeah. Once someone pulls him out, they, like, throw one of his little, because he shrinks from, like, a little button or whatever that he can make, and so someone throws him one of those, and he, like, was able to grow, and then he realizes, oh shit, I'm in a petri dish. The whole time I've been in a petri dish, and these are just, like, microorganisms that are, that have been, like, attacking me, and I've been eating and stuff. This is really weird, but funny. And so the person who breaks him out or gets him out of this is actually Catgirl, who is actually Robin from the last series, Carrie Kelly. So she's, like, moved on from being just a Robin. Man, that's so little kid stuff. I'm cool Catgirl
now.
And she's got rollerblades and a cheetah costume and all this crazy stuff. So, and she's 16 now, they say. So she was only 13 in the last one. So it's pretty interesting that she was, fighting Toymaker and stuff. But yeah, so
she grabs Professor. It's like, we're getting out of here, and so they're running to escape. And I thought it was funny too, because they're going out, like, to jump out a window, and she's like, I'm gonna hide you, and she puts him in her mouth.
Oh yeah, and she accidentally swallows him while she's, like, jumping off the building, and then, like, she's like, oh my god, and she, like, throws him up. And he's like, it's fine, don't worry about it. It's not the first time that's happened. So then we find out that Batman is actually the one who is orchestrating, like, multiple attacks on, I guess they're, like, government facilities or government controlled areas where they have, like, superpowered people, like all the Justice League people and past DC heroes, like, they have them, like, either locked away forever or they're, like, using them somehow. So we see the next attack that happens is they go to a power plant, and they're, like, breaking in. You're not sure why, and they're like, we need to get to the center or whatever. And when they open, they, like, beat everybody up and whatnot. And then when they go to the actual power source and they stop it and they open it or whatever, it's Barry Allen, the Flash. So they've been using the Flash as, like, a power source for, like, the whole.
He's, like, on a giant hamster wheel, basically.
Yeah, basically. Crazy. Yeah, they're just like, run,
keep running forever.
And then he's like, no, Iris. And they're like, don't worry, we got Iris. She's not going to die. I don't know. Do you know that's his wife, right?
His wife, yeah.
Okay.
And I like his. They're like, here, take this, and he's got a new suit. And he's like, what is this? He's like,
What'd you think of his new suit?
It was weird that it was like cutoffs, like like it showed his legs and arms.
Yeah,
I liked that it was.
It
black,
basically looked
fine.
like a '90s running suit,
Yeah.
which I thought was funny. It was all black too, which was interesting. But yeah, so they get him out, and mainly, like this whole issue is just kind of setting up like, okay, Batman is back. They're freeing people, and we're also seeing that Superman is working for the government, but not because he wants to.
Yeah.
They have Candor, and they will kill them and everybody. And we also find out that, while this is going on, like Superman meets with Wonder Woman and Captain Marvel because he knows this is going on, and he's like, "Fucking Bruce, you're gonna like kill, like, tens of hundreds of thousands of people." And we think he's talking about Earth people, but he's actually talking about the Kryptonians and Candor. For those of you who don't know, Candor is a city in a bottle. It looks like kind of like on a bell jar style display. And it was stolen from Krypton by Brainiac before it exploded. And so it's like the last living like group of Kryptonians other than Superman. And so besides that, they're like the last of them. So Superman's like, I don't want like my whole race of people to die. And so he's all pissed at Batman. And so he calls a meeting of Wonder Woman and Shazam on the, I guess, the old Justice League satellite.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Yeah. And we find out there also that him and Wonder Woman have a relationship. So like, it ain't Lois Lane anymore. Her and Superman have been, they're at least in love or whatnot from what we see in this first issue. And right away, while they're like talking about, something's got to happen, we see Lex Luthor pop up on the screen and is like, hey, you guys got to take care of Batman. Like, this shit needs to stop now. At first they kind of hem and haw, like, we don't want to. But then, like, he's like, I'm going to kill Candor if you don't, remember. So Superman's like, fine. And so you get a real sense of, like, Superman's just forced, like, against his will on this. Like, because in the other one, you're, like, kind of not, in Dark Knight Returns, you're not supposed to like Superman over Batman, obviously. Yeah. We're, like, on Batman's side, and Superman's a dick who's working for the government. But in this, he's not.
He has his hand tied.
Yeah, he's got his hands tied behind his back. So you're a little bit more sympathetic to Superman in this one, which I liked because I like Superman. So
yeah, I have to say I really like. So Batman still has like some of his like bat guys that are helping him, or the
Sons of Batman.
The Sons of Batman. There you go. And I like that they're a little more high techy in this one now too. Like they have some of his equipment, obviously, that he's given them.
Right.
When they're like breaking into to save the heroes, I thought that was fun, and I like that they also still had like little phrases. I saw they kept saying,
"Oh yeah, they still
bash and dash."
Yeah, bash and dash.
I just like that they kept up those little things. Those are fun.
Yeah. It's like they definitely knew. He like definitely kept up the like similar things, which is after 20 years to remember. That's what I was thinking back then. I get, but this felt kind of seamless as far as like, except the art, the storyline felt like it fit fine. So Superman goes, reluctantly, but he's like, God damn it, Clark, you're going to kill all my people. I mean, God damn it, Bruce, you're going to kill all my people. Like, I got to go take you on now.
And the reason Superman didn't like stop him before too, I forgot there was like an asteroid coming to Earth.
Oh yeah, it's kind of like a weird thing. They're like,
side story.
It was like, oh, is this going to be the big thing? And it was like, no, not at all, because Superman just destroys it.
Ooh, yeah.
But he was kind of like off planet while this was going on, while Batman was breaking all these people out. So then it was kind of like he wasn't there to do the bidding.
Stop him, yeah.
And so, and the other guys, I guess, just follow along. Like Wonder Woman just follows Clark or Superman because they're in love, or they have a relationship. And I guess Captain Marvel's just like, I'm old now, so whatever. But and I should say that they're both Superman is also older now, so he doesn't have the same power that he did before. Like they even mentioned like he's 60 something, so it's like he's kind of, not that he's not Superman anymore, but he's just not he can't take on the foes that he could have before. And so, but he flies to Utah where the new Batcave is, and we see that he just like smashes through the whole ground and everything.
Yeah.
And Batman's basically, he already knew this was going to happen, and so he's got it all, traps all laid out for him. He had like, he has this Batcave set up like the last one where there's like a dinosaur and a penny and all that shit in there. But the dinosaur comes to life, and it's like a robot dinosaur that tries to attack Superman. He's like, really, Bruce? Like a robot dinosaur? And then like out of the dinosaur comes a mechanical Bizarro, and Bizarro fights with him for a bit. And Superman's like, no, this is no big deal. And then Bruce is basically, or Batman's like, this is basically a distraction. Like, I'm doing all this shit. And he has
Flash come and like he puts all these little explosives all over.
Oh yeah, that's what it is. And then he has Green Arrow shoot at him again with stuff.
Exactly. Green Arrow's like, hey, what's up, man?
Yeah, and he's got a robot arm now. So that was nice.
And it's funny, yeah, because Superman like he shoots the arrow with his beam this time instead of catching it, but it's like more kryptonite kind of like
dust.
Napalm basically. Dust, yeah.
Yeah, he says napalm, but I think.
But yeah, basically it's like, oh, the same thing happened again.
Yeah, and then Batman like comes out with these big gloves on his hands, and he just starts beating the shit out of Superman. He's like, get the fuck out of here! Like you don't belong here anymore. Or whatever. Like he just basically shows Superman like, you ain't shit anymore.
Yeah, have we already done this? Fuck you. Get out of here.
Get out of here. Like you're just their lackeys or whatever. They're lackeys, so fuck off. And so yeah, that's pretty much the end of the first issue. And this, like, I'll say, like, looking back at the artwork from Dark Knight to this one, it is jarring because like Dark Knight has such detail. The main thing I noticed in this one was it was digitally drawn. It looked like it was digitally drawn and digitally colored, and it looks like whoever colored it with Microsoft Paint or something. Like there was literal. You could see pixels. I don't know. I mean, obviously, either you're supposed to, or that's the best they had in 2000 for coloring, but it just didn't look that good. Because if you're an artist and you're putting stuff out, there's got to be a reason in his thought process of like, this is what I wanted to. This is the style I want to be, for whatever, whether people like it or not is one thing, but maybe he had to have a reason why that he would change it like that,
Yeah, I highly doubt it was like, this is good enough, whatever.
Yeah. So, but whatever. Back to the story. We get issue 2. Issue 2 starts kind of like big, so Batman was just attacked by Superman in the last issue, so he now goes on the attack, and he goes to Lex Luthor's house. And he's like, motherfucker, I'm going to leave my mark on your face. And so he you think, oh, it's going to be like a bat sign or something. But he actually does the mark like a Z
like Zorro.
Like Zorro.
Yeah.
Do you know what that's from?
No.
So when he was a kid, his parents took him to go see Zorro, and then they died afterwards. And so he does the mark of the Z on his face. And then, something to remember him by. I liked this part a lot. So Wonder Woman's like, Superman didn't come back from his mission to go, talk some sense into Batman. And so she goes to his Fortress of Solitude, where it was, because it's been melted. We find out by like Brainiac and Lex. And we find out also my dog just sneezed. We find out also that like the government or Lex Luthor has like laser cannons like in satellites around the earth and stuff, and they just like will shoot shit. So like that's one of the test things they said. They tested it on his Fortress of Solitude, so it just totally melted it down, and that's where they got Kandor from, where they stole it from that. So Wonder Woman is there, and she's looking for him because that's where he would go, and he's there, but he's like completely beaten up and broken, and just like, I don't want to do it anymore. He's more than he's broken in spirit than
than physically. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's still beat up looking, but he's Superman. So, but I think he's just like, I'm sick of being the lackey of Lex Luthor and Brainiac and doing their bidding. So, and she gives him like a pep talk
after she punches him.
Oh yeah, she's like, snap out of it, you pussy, basically. Like where's the man I used to know? Like where's the man who would, blah blah blah. And then you also find out that they have a daughter named Laura, and So that was cool. I like, their relationship is so far back that they must have had a daughter. I mean, obviously they had a daughter back, in Dark Knight Returns too, but they just didn't mention it, right? So,
Yeah.
so Laura's never met him apparently. She just knows like I'm a Kryptonian, but like Wonder Woman keeps her in hiding so that the government doesn't know about her because then they could use her against.
Yeah, but she's all her powers are growing and she has these questions. You need to meet her eventually.
Yeah, yeah. And so, Superman's like, okay, he feels a little bit better. And then, like, after Wonder Woman kind of punches him and gives him a pep talk, he, like, makes out with her, and then, like, they have sex. And it's like, we're going in space, and we're going in the ocean. We're going all over the universe.
Yeah, it's causing, like, riptide, or,
tidal
waves, and
yeah, crazy stuff.
Volcano explosions.
And, and the greatest thing is, right away, after they finish, she's like, and I'm pregnant again.
Yeah, she's like, you could populate a planet. Oh, and I'm pregnant.
Yep. And so like it's funny, I think that she knows right away, like, oh yeah, I'm pregnant again. So, and it was so cool reading this because we'll find out a little bit when we keep going through these. All of this comes back. So like the second baby
they have a long game. Good.
Yeah, which is what it was really cool. Reading this in context of some of the later stuff that we're going to read. So yeah, Superman, he's, recharged.
Yeah.
And he's feeling better. And right away, Lex Luthor pops up and is like, hey, thanks, Wonder Woman, for getting him, back up. It's just, and
thanks for doing exactly what I needed you to do.
Yeah. So we need you to come out again. And so basically, we find out that like there's a UFO that has appeared and everybody's freaking out about it. And this is interesting, I thought. And this might be one of the reasons why people don't like this book as much, is because they basically pull a Watchman and they're like Lex Luthor and Brainiac are like, what we need is something gigantic, like so big to distract everybody so that like everybody will stop talking about, the glitch, and the superheroes will be, stop. It seems like a lot of it's kind of in the background. Obviously, the Question and some other people have been doing stuff, but it seems like there's more like kind of C-list and D-list DC superheroes that have been coming out of the woodwork, still fighting crime in the background. So I think they're trying to pull a Watchmen where they have like an alien attack in quotation marks happen. And that distracts everybody and brings everybody like, okay, we need a big government to protect us from this invasion. Please help us, Lex Luthor and Brainiac government. And so they send Superman there to fight this alien, and Superman's like, yeah, I'm not going to fight, but I'm also not going to run away. And the ship's like, if you don't fight, what is it? If you don't run, we're going to kill Kandor. And if you fight, we're going to kill Kandor. That's what they give him. And he's like, no, I'm just going to not do anything. He's like, all right. And so they basically just starts beating the shit out of him.
Yeah, they're shooting him with laser beams.
Yeah. And we see, like, this is where you see how old he is compared to how he used to be, because he, like, shoots him with his laser eyes. Or he shoots it actually turns out the ship is Brainiac. So he shoots Brainiac with his laser eyes, and it's like, doesn't do anything. And Brainiac says, well, in your younger years, that would have done something, but now you're too old man, basically. In the meantime of like this going on in this exact moment, the government starts like attacking areas as well with the space cannon. So they blow up like a forest in Costa Rica where all the Thanagarians, I guess, are living on Earth. And it's like, and the Thanagarians are like Hawkman and Hawkgirl's people. And so, and I think they actually say like it killed everybody except two of them. And those two were I think it's the children of Hawkgirl and Hawkman.
Okay, that's a one part. Not being a huge knowing of all of DC backstory, I was like, oh, what?
Well, they never said their names. So if they said their names, they just said they killed our parents. So I was like, oh, I'm assuming that's Hawkgirl and Hawkman, because they have names that if they said it, I'd be like, oh, that's them. Oh, okay. But they don't say anything.
They had big wings. I was like, oh, they're Hawk people.
Right. So but the whole race of people was that. So yeah. So
But I honestly also didn't know that there was a whole race.
Yeah, exactly.
Until this.
Yeah. So.
Oh, also while this is going on, the Flash goes and picks up Elongated Man.
Oh yeah, he frees Elongated Man,
which I didn't even remember was a character.
Actually, Elongated Man's not even like he doesn't free him. He's like, it seems like he's just like a drunk, washed up superhero.
Yeah, I think he was like making a commercial or something.
Yeah, he's like, please buy OxyClean or whatever. You know, Ralph Dibny says buy OxyClean. So
Barry Allen's like, hey, what's up, man? Come with me.
Yeah, and so Elongated Man, for all those you don't know, is basically Mr. Fantastic from the Fantastic Four, except he was first. So he's like, I think he's from the 50s. So, but he can just stretch really long arms and stuff. And then he also, is like a detective somewhat. Like that's his thing. He's like a good sleuth. So, and then we also see while all this is going on, there's a new Joker, and the new Joker is going around killing all these, kind of C-list superheroes that are starting to rise up again. And we see him. We see him for the first time. He's on like a steel structure of like a building that's being built, and he's the guy he's killing has all these knives in his back, and it's the Guardian, who I've never read.
Okay, I was gonna say I assumed he was a hero because he's masked and stuff.
Yeah,
but yeah, I was like, I don't know who he killed, but he obviously stabbed him in the back 27 times.
Yeah. And I've seen him before. I just don't know. I've never read any of his stuff. So the Guardian, I think, is like a old Golden Age hero, I think. Like I said, I've only seen him in like the reprints of like old stuff. So I don't know how big he was or whatever, but he's down there as far as like a C-list character kind of. And then he also like kills the Creeper and a couple other people. I love the Creeper, actually. That's a Steve Ditko original creations.
I remember the Creeper from animated series.
Yeah, he's in a couple episodes, I think. So,
but yeah, basically, like he keeps killing people, and they're like, "You're not the Joker. The Joker's dead." And he's like, "Well,
then who am I?
Who am I?" Yeah, and then he's killing people.
If I'm not the Joker, then who's killing you right now? Or, and he looks weird. He doesn't look like the Joker traditionally. He doesn't have green hair and he's got a big smile, but he doesn't have like red lips and all that. So,
but he's definitely creepy looking.
Yeah, he's definitely got a creepy look. So,
so while
Superman's getting beat up still. He's just getting beat up.
This new Joker's killing people. While this is going on, Batman is breaking into Arkham with Carrie and Elongated Man and some of the Bat Boys.
Yeah.
The Sons of Batman.
I
keep saying Bat Boys.
The Bat Boys.
The Bat Boys. And this I thought was interesting because they're breaking into Arkham, and I was like, oh, who are they gonna? Because there's like little things on the side you can tell because it's like, riddle me this. You could tell the villains are there,
right? So
I'm like, well, who are they going to break out? And then they find that big egg thing, and I have no idea where this is going. And
really, you didn't know?
I didn't know from the egg.
Oh, okay. I knew right away when I saw the egg. I'm like, oh, that's.
After he pops out and I see the color, I'm like, oh, that makes sense. But it's Plastic Man.
Yeah.
And I was like, why is he in Arkham?
Because he's a criminal. Originally, he was a criminal.
Yeah.
So I don't know. And I mean, you could make the case that he's insane because he's wacky.
So wacky.
But yeah, like, what's his name? O'Brien, I think is his name. And
but it was so nice to see because I've always had a little soft spot for Plastic Man.
Yeah,
I guess like from the old 90s cartoons around the time.
Well, he was in a lot. Well, my favorite iteration of him is in Batman Brave and the Bold, the TV show.
Yeah.
From like I think he was like the mid 2000s. He was in that, and he was really, really funny. He's always like a really good comic relief character nowadays. And he's always been kind of wacky and funny.
I always felt like he was the embodiment of Jim Carrey in the 90s as like a comic book like
I could see that
caricature. Like I always felt like that's who would play him if that ever happened. But.
Sure, except he's from the 30s, so he's actually the original stretchy person.
He's the
original one. Yeah,
wow.
Because he's like from, like I said, I think he's from like 30 something.
And I like that. And this I did know, but I like that they make the point of it is that. Like when they're together, especially with Elongated Man, because he can turn into pretty much anything.
Right, yeah. So the difference is Plastic Man can turn into anything he wants. So he can turn himself, kind of like Green Lantern's ring, whatever he wills, he can make into a construct with his green power. Plastic Man can turn himself into anything he wants. He's still got the same color scheme, but like, you know, he'll be like a big race car, or, you know, and everything works like it should too. Like if he's a race car, he's going fast, and somehow he's got torque and all that shit, you know. And so, but Elongated Man can only become stretchy. So, you know,
and he makes fun of him in that too.
Yeah.
I thought it was really good.
Yeah, they have like a back and forth kind of thing, which I thought was great. Also, while Superman's still getting beat up, like we mentioned, the question earlier is like he's been going around and he's finding out. And I gotta say, I really, really, after reading this, like the 3 pages that question is on in this whole book, I want Frank Miller to write a question series. Like the way that he writes them was very cool in this book. He seemed like he got the character, and that character would be very interesting nowadays. But the what's going on with the question is he meets up with someone at a bar, and you find out it kind of looks. I didn't know who it was at first because he looks fucking wrecked, but it's a guy that kind of looks like the Thing or something.
Yeah,
from Fantastic Four, but it's actually Martian Manhunter, who's all old and everything, and he's trying to. The question's trying to recruit him. He's like, you used to have Superman style abilities, like you were one of the ones who could rival that kind of power. So like we need you to fight, and Martian Manhunter is basically like, no, I know I'm gonna die, and I know I'm gonna die by fire. Like I've already seen, like I'm gonna burn to death. And Question's like, what are you talking about? And then out of nowhere, the Joker, the new Joker, comes and like throws some swastika throwing stars, and hits him back.
I thought they were pulling like Bruno kind
out
of
of
stuff
nowhere
from the first one in there.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he was like an acolyte of Bruno after he left or something, or he's just, you know, crazy, and that's, you know, some way to make sure you know I'm evil is that I have swastikas, you know.
Yeah.
So he throws the stars at Martian Manhunter's back, and he's got like a can of gasoline with him. You're like, holy shit! And like almost instantly, he just like pours it on Martian Manhunter and lights him on fire, and the Question is there too, like also, and I think the Question's shooting at him.
Yeah.
Which the Question doesn't usually have a gun, but you know, desperate times call for desperate measures. So, and you also see that Green Arrow was following the Question, and I think they were going to try to recruit them too. Either that or they were following Martian Manhunter maybe to recruit him. So they see all this happen, and he shoots at Joker, the new Joker, and gets him away. Right. That's
yeah.
So then we cut back to Superman, who's getting his ass kicked by the Brainiac.
Who's still getting the beat up.
Yeah, and Wonder Woman and Shazam show up, and they're like, "All right, we gotta, you know, help you," and they are also getting beat up, basically.
Yeah. Although it was fun because like they show up and like there's 3 people actually that show up, and then the one person's like, "Well, I'm gonna help," and then Wonder Woman's like, "No, let me show you what like this old lady can do with the help of a god." And that was kind of cool panel. She comes in on like a Pegasus.
Yeah.
Like throw. I don't know if she's throwing the lightning ball or if she's just like using.
It seemed like
power.
she actually like calls Zeus's power down or whatever, and it seemed like she actually had the ability to throw lightning bolts, which I thought was cool.
It was cool. I mean, it was a cool little adding to the fight. I thought was really, even though it didn't necessarily help that much.
Right.
It was still cool.
But they're fighting, and then they kind of get beat. And then all of a sudden, Laura shows up, and Laura is Superman's daughter. So Superman's daughter comes. It's the first time we see her, and she looks fucking badass. She's got like black long hair. She's got like a weird, like her face is very distinctive. It has like a very angular face. It kind of looks like, I guess, the way that he draws Wonder Woman, and then just add a couple extra features to it, like from Superman. But like, because Wonder Woman has a very distinct face in this too. I like the way he draws Wonder Woman, personally. But out of everybody that he draws in this book, I like the way he draws her the best, I think. So she comes, and she's like, I can take you on, no problem. And the ship's like, who the fuck is this? And she just shoots him with their eye beams, and it blows up, basically. And they're like, what the fuck? Who's this, you know? And so now they know about Laura. Then we see the police are also trying to like arrest the like D-list superheroes because they got orders from the government to, you know, basically stop any of those kind of people. It's illegal, you know. So they're trying to arrest them, and the random citizens see it, and they're like, "Hey, you know, you can't do that." And then like it looked like
trying to help us.
Yeah, and it looked like the police were gonna shoot, like the civilians, and then Batman comes in with, you know, Plastic Man and all the people, and they start like fighting the police. And they say like, you know, basically Batman calls all the citizens to revolt. He's like, "We'll have a revolution."
And that was cool too, because it was, I guess that was partially something part of Carrie's plan, he said. And so like when he takes off his...
Oh yeah, he has to actually unmask because they're like, "You're not real Batman." He's like, "I'm fucking Bruce Wayne."
I'm Bruce Wayne.
From
like,
the dead.
what?
And also, I this is where you find out that like no one knew that Superman was still around, because when they see Superman fighting Brainiac, the alien thing, they're like, "Oh my God, he's back! He'll save us!" And then he's getting his ass kicked. And they're like, "What the fuck is he doing? He's just sitting there. He's not doing anything." So, yeah. So like the people all of a sudden have some kind of hope. They start to revolt, and that's pretty much where issue 2 ends, with the revolution starting.
Oh, beforehand, sorry, I just want to make one note, is that when Laura shows up and Brainiac's like, "Who the hell is this?" And then he sees the S symbol, he's like, "Oh, are you like, you're like the offspring of Superman?" What, you know, what, you know, what good is that gonna do? And she has this line, she says, "Yeah, I wear his symbol, but I'm not from Kansas, you son of a bitch. I'm an Amazon." And then she does I just thought, I like the line. There was a couple really good one-liners in this. I was like, fuck yeah.
Yeah. She definitely, like, as a character, I really like her character.
She was pretty badass the entire time she was on the panels.
Yeah. And so in the issue 3 starts interestingly.
Yeah,
it was like so you go from this revolution starting. You turn the page, or you open the new book, and it says it's just like a little kind of blockhead family that's all green. And like the dad's like, "God damn it!" He's getting a phone call, and he's like, "The only person who knows I'm here is Bruce. It's got to be Bruce." And we find out that Bruce Wayne is calling Green Lantern. And Green Lantern, I guess this was like his alien family that he's now a part of, because he left. Green Lantern completely left Earth and the whole sector. He was like, "Man, fuck you guys," basically. And you know, obviously left Batman the phone number or whatever where he was going. And also Green Lantern has completely no use for the ring and the battery and all that stuff anymore. He's like one with the willpower force or whatever.
Yeah, that was cool.
So he's like, he doesn't need the ring or anything to conjure stuff, and he can like. It looked like he can like make his body do whatever too, because like he grows. Seems like he grows himself big, or at least it's not just all green constructs, I guess, you know. So, but he gets called in to help with Batman, or you know, from Batman. So Batman so yeah, he like agrees to help. So he starts returning to Earth. Then we see. And there was one thing I didn't. Is this directly after that battle?
I think so.
Okay, because it picks up, and you know, back on Earth, and Shazam is like mortally wounded. I guess from the fight with the Brainiac ship.
Oh yeah, and this was really cool because Wonder Woman's like, "Well, why don't you just take a rest, turn back into Billy Batson, and you know, you take a well needed rest from this."
Yeah.
And this was fucking crazy. He was like, "Oh no, Billy died like 8 years ago. I
haven't transformed in like 8 years.
If I transform, then
I'll just be nothing."
And so he says Shazam, and he is no more.
Yeah. So this is the last hurrah, Shazam.
That was cool.
Yeah.
I didn't see that.
It was very cool. I like that he's like, Billy was a sickly boy. Like, he wasn't in the best shape. Let's say that. So yeah, and so I guess they were fighting in Metropolis. That was a city where all this was going on, because we find out that like half the city was destroyed.
Oh yeah, it was like
the Daily Planet was destroyed. Jimmy Olsen and Lois Lane were killed, and so Batman finds Lois's locket. And this is one thing I liked. He opens the locket, and it's a picture of him and her but it's from the old 40s Max Fleischer cartoons.
I totally was gonna say I the art specifically on their faces. I was like, oh, that's cool. It looks like old, 50s, 40s, 50s.
It's from the old Max Fleischer Superman cartoons that ran in movie theaters, and which I highly recommend, even though some of them are a little problematic now. Because it was during World War II, so there's some problematic things in those cartoons, but they're still really well drawn and whatnot. So, but he opens it and he says, like, you know, they killed Lois, you know, and you see, like, you know, obviously he was in love with Wonder Woman, but you know, I think his first love was always Lois, kind of thing. So, and he explains that, like. Or Laura asks, like, why don't we, you know, just go kill him or whatever? And he explains to Laura, like, what Candor is. And, you know, it's the last of our race and all this
It was
stuff.
kind of nice. They were like, let's have a heart-to-heart. So they like, fly off.
Yeah, they
the top.
leave, yeah.
Although, but then, like, the first question, like, she asked when they were...
What about sex?
Like, yeah, what about sex?
Well, she is, like, a teenager, right?
Yeah.
So...
Superman's like, never with Terrans, never with Earthling.
Yeah, yeah.
They're fragile creatures.
Yeah. But she was actually more just like, she was asking, like, how does it work? How can I, as a superpowered person, have sex? And yeah. He explains to Laura, like, what Candor is. They kind of have, like, a father-daughter heart-to-heart since they haven't really met before.
Basically, she's also saying, like, why can't we just, like, rule these people? Because we're obviously superpowered.
Yeah, she's like, why can't we just, you know, they're weak.
Yeah, and Superman's like, well, you still have a lot to learn. Think about your mother, how, you know, she has this power, but she's using it for good, and we basically share this world with them.
She actually says, like, why don't we make them our slaves?
Our slaves, yeah.
I was like, Jesus. But, you know, I guess fair question for a, you know, teenager who was raised by women in Amazonia or whatever, or Themyscira.
She's just learning that she's just coming into these great powers. She's like, why do I care about this little person standing on the corner over here who can't even defend themselves from, like, a rock falling?
Right.
So,
yeah, well, I mean, you know, and so, she, like she said, I wasn't born in Kansas, so she has more of a pragmatic, I guess, approach to life, and, you know, she was raised in a war culture. We'll say that. Batman appears in their head as, like, a virtual Batman, like, and we find out because, like, when at the beginning when Superman burst into the cave and tried to, you know, fight Batman and Batman beat the shit out of him. The Atom went into Superman's head and left, like, a little boop, like
a little device of something.
Little device.
That's cool. All these little things, yeah.
Yeah, so Superman can hear him. Actually, I guess everybody can hear him, but actually, you know, Kara can hear him, but I think it's just because she's super. Yeah, she has superpower. So it's in his ear. He can hear it and see Batman. I don't know if Kara can actually see Batman or not.
I mean, the way they made it seem, because he's like, Batman basically, like, you're going to help me now. Like, there's no discussion, and I'm in charge. You're working for me, Clark. Yeah. And then he also says, and you, young lady, you're also going to work for me, too.
Yeah. And she's all pissed. Like, she's ready to, like, kill him. She's like, who the fuck is this human? And we already, we just heard how much she, like, what she thinks of humans. And Batman's like, listen, like, I'm the fucking Batman or whatever, you know, you will listen to me. God damn it.
Yeah. Superman has to be like, no, seriously. Like, he's the only hope that we have right now.
Yeah. And basically Batman's like, I have a plan to save Candor, and, like, we'll do it and it'll work out because it has to, kind of thing. So, he also says, like, at the end, Bruce has, like, a little heart tremor or whatever. And Superman's like, or, like, he was like, what's that? And he's like, nothing. The signal's bad connection or whatever. And then Laura says, oh, he's dying. I could tell, like, you know, by his heart or whatever rhythm. And Superman's like, you don't understand. Like, he doesn't die. like we already tried this before. So yeah. And then, this is one of the things I wanted, or that I loved in this comic. So we get, like, a couple panels of the Question and Arrow arguing, like, while they're in the Batcave.
Yeah. And
the question is, like, an anarcho-capitalist, and Green Arrow is, like, a Marxist or a straight up communist. I don't know. And so they're arguing politics, and I'm like, I want to see that buddy book. I want to see that team up book. kind of like Green Arrow and Green Lantern in the 70s, where you had like Green Arrow is like, you know, Marxist or whatever, like a liberal hippie basically back then, and then you have Green Lantern who's like basically a space cop.
Yeah.
And so that was the dynamic, because they would always argue over politics and stuff, but they were still good friends. I'm like, I want to see a team up book by Frank Miller where they have like adventures together and they're arguing about shit, and it'd be fun, especially nowadays. I think that'd be fun. But yeah, they're arguing, which is great. And then we see Carrie Kelly as Catgirl. She's just like trying to recruit heroes with them. She goes to this girl named Saturn Girl, right?
Yeah, Saturn Girl.
And Saturn Girl is like a psychic, and she looks weird. She looks like a doll or something.
I thought she was a doll.
Yeah, but she's just like, I'm a weird psychic girl, you know, and like I just picture her with that kind of voice, you know, like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, yeah. And she just always looks like she's like staring past you, or like,
it should look like she blinks.
Yeah, she never blinks. Her eyes are gigantic and huge. So, and she says like, you're gonna die, Carrie.
Yeah, because part of her powers, I guess, is she can see some things that happen in the future.
Yeah, and she sees like Carrie all bloody and beat up, and the new Joker, and Carrie's like, it can't be, because I already killed the Joker. And then it flashes back to like 2 weeks ago, where Carrie like surprised him, and then like shot him a bunch of times with arrows and stuff, and then
they were fighting in like, I guess, like catacombs in Gotham.
Yeah.
And like she took arrows from Green Arrow and like was like shooting him like C4 arrow and like everything.
And she like cut him up, and she did all this shit to him, and she's like, no, he's completely dead, like 100%.
No way.
Yeah. And she's like, all right, but that's what I see, so watch out. And then
she says, well, I don't know about that, but whoever I'm seeing, he definitely hates Bruce Wayne, but he hates you for some reason more than anyone.
A lot. So then we cut to Laura going to like Brainiac's lair, I guess, which is in Siberia. Of course it is. Where else would it be? And she goes down, and she basically like tricks Brainiac. She's like, oh yeah, you don't know this is the reader. You think maybe because she's so like obstinate and like strong-headed.
That's what I thought at first. I thought she's like, okay, you know what? You're superpowered too, and you have these grand intentions, and maybe together.
Yeah. But she's actually, going with the plan. So the plan was to get her close to Brainiac, and then like she actually like Brainiac puts his little tentacle like electrodes all over her, and is like, I'm gonna fill you with my nanobots, which is a little rapey, but whatever. And while he's doing that, she brought with her the Atom. So she like drops off Ray Palmer. She says like something about, or
can I just see Candor one time?
Brainiac mentions Candor. She's like, oh, Candor, can I just see it? I want to like see my people. So like he brings her to the room with the big city in a bottle, and she's hugging it or whatever, and then you just see like
she sheds a tear.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, she sheds a tear, and Ray Palmer comes out of her tear, and then like drops down, and he goes in there, and then inside of Candor, there's like little Brainiac little ships that keep him in order or whatnot. And so Ray Palmer actually like destroys those, or helps them destroy them, and then he like grows like super big, and like breaks them free. So they can break free now. But before that even happens, before he breaks them free, Batman on purpose gets captured by Lex Luthor, and he's getting the shit beat out of him.
Oh my god, he's
like he just looks like
he's about like ground beef basically. He's just getting the crap beef, and Lex. That's one thing is
my least favorite character design in this was Lex Luthor. Right?
Yeah, I was gonna say he looks like a cross between like Mole Man, the mutant head mutant from the last one, and then.
He just looks like Harvey Weinstein. He just has like extreme pock marks all over his face, and he looks a lot more brutish than he does in a lot of the animated series.
He kind of looks like the Kingpin a little from the Spider-Man animated series, but
also with like the Thing's skin.
Yeah, horrid. But he's beating the crap out of Batman.
Yeah, he's definitely like
Batman's like tied up on some hooked up to something on the wall. and he's just like punching him over and over in the face.
Yeah, and he's like he's having him tell him, you know, he's getting Lex to talk a bit, and we see like while this is going on, Hal Jordan shows up, the Green Lantern, and he sees all these satellites around the Earth, and like weapons and space cannons and shit.
Yeah,
and he's like, cool, whoop, and he just like wipes them all out. Like he just like
he like takes his hand and like grows his hand big enough to encompass the Earth. And then just closes his hand around the Earth just enough to basically squish all of the bad satellites and everything. And he's like,
I think all the satellites. He just does everything. Yeah, I don't know. And so there's no more like guns pointed everywhere at Earth.
And Lex is like, oh, that's when Lex Luthor's like, what? Like that? That's
like a big green like light or like wave comes over the sky while this is going on too. So everybody kind of sees like, what's going on? And then out of nowhere, like Batman's like, "Hey, Thanagarians, you can come attack now." And then all of a sudden, those like winged Hawkman and Hawkgirl kids come down and smash Lex in the face.
Oh man, with the mace,
with a big mace. That was fucking awesome. He just kills him, smashes his head.
I thought that was cool because like Lex is like, oh, like you knew this was coming the whole time, like you were just stalling me, basically. Like, yeah, I was. And then like he says like yeah, like you guys can come and attack, and like at that like the Flash shows up and like set him free, and Batman's like, even though he's beat up, he's like got like a cup of tea now.
Yeah,
in the panel.
He's like, I'm gonna drink this, watch you guys kill him. So, but yeah, so then it cuts back. This is exactly the moment when Ray Palmer like frees all the Kryptonians. And what's going on actually is like Laura's like, no, I'm gonna fight you. I'm gonna, you know, and she kind of like breaks out of the control of Brainiac, the electrodes and everything.
Yeah.
She starts to fight him, and he's like, you have power, girl, but it's gonna take more than you, and there ain't no more of you. And she's like, oh yeah, and that's when Ray Palmer, you know, bursts all the Kryptonians out of Kandor, and they all fly out, and she like calls them. It's kind of like a spirit bomb again. She calls them. She's like, give me, your Kryptonian power now. And they all like fly out and help her basically. Yeah. And I don't know if they all shoot at the same time or if they somehow give her their power and she shoots with all their power. I don't know.
There's another one line that happens right at this time that I really like that stuck out to me. There's one of the characters, one of the Kryptonians that's coming out that is like, they're all thanking Adam for helping them break out. And she's like, hey, Professor Palmer,
I want you inside.
I want you inside of me. And he's like, what? This isn't the time. And she says, no, you should probably like shrink down and like, get inside of my like clothes or for my protection. Cause it's about to like get really hot and really like a lot of power here all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's a good idea.
Good point. Never mind. I have a dirty head. So, like Laura is able to defeat Brainiac with all the other Kryptonians that have just gotten out of Kandor. I guess they just need to be outside because they were under a red light in that bottle, which was why they didn't have powers. But if you take the bottle off, I guess just being on Earth itself gives you enough powers. So, then we cut back, and Joker is killing Carrie Kelly now. Like,
yeah, because she's in the.
Well, actually, we cut back to Lex's apartment where he's dead now, and Batman gets an emergency call, and he patches it through, and Carrie's actually saying like, "Help! He's killing me!" And
she's in the
Batcave, right? Yeah.
I guess she was like watching everything go down.
Yeah, and so Batman's like, "Holy shit!" And then he goes to save her, and like the new Joker is like, I'm gonna slice up your fucking face, and I'm gonna kill you, and I'm gonna, just go off on her, and then we find out that the new Joker is actually Dick Grayson.
Yeah, it was cool because so Batman gets there and they start fighting a little, and he's like, you know what? I can't end all of this. You're gonna die, and he's like, no, you can't kill me because.
Oh yeah, he reveals that he has like a gene therapy that he did, where he's basically got like Wolverine's healing factor.
Yeah,
and so he can't die. Like,
and Batman's like, well, guess what? If there's none of you left to regenerate, then you're gonna die. So he sets off this like another like.
Well, he says like Batcave, detonate or whatever.
Yeah.
Start detonation sequence.
And I liked his code was Zap Biff Pow, like the old like actiony.
Yeah, he does that, and then the new Joker goes like he starts laughing, and then he goes like computer like
disengage
code, and he says some other code, and then Batman's like,
I knew it
was you. Like only one other person knew that code, and he's like, of course I fucking changed it. It's been like 30 years or whatever. And basically what it was is he figured out that it was Dick Grayson because only that Robin would know that code from that time period.
Yeah.
And so yeah,
it was a cool twist. I did not see that coming.
You didn't see it coming at all. I didn't either. I was like, who is this guy? I don't remember, but it makes sense in context. And so yeah, basically he saves. Or Batman and him start fighting. Batman reveals like that the Batcave is actually on top of a volcano, so that when it detonates, it doesn't actually detonate the building; it just detonates the volcano, and then that comes up and burns everything, all that shit. So they're fighting, and Batman basically throws him in. Like they're fighting, and he punches him, and he falls, and then he falls into the volcano.
Yeah. Well, but there's a second part because it's like he's a fake out, and he falls, and he's like, "Oh wait, part of this is a hologram, right?" And they're fighting a little more, and Batman's like, "You know what? Screw you! Like, if you feel like you can't go out, I'll take you out with me." And so Batman's like in a self-sacrifice.
Yeah.
And he jumps on top of him, and they're both falling. But then just as they're falling down, and Superman shows up and grabs Bruce, he's like,
and saves him.
Hey, where to, buddy?
Yeah.
As Dick Grayson, falls into the volcano.
Yeah.
I like it was a cool fake out.
Yeah, it was a cool like ending fight scene. I did find some of it because the coloring was so weird.
Yeah.
Like it would show like a full splash page behind them fighting of weird pixelated, magma, but didn't look like magma, just looked like yellow
Red
and orange and shit.
Yeah.
So I'm like, where are we exactly? Like, where are we standing in space? Are we actually falling, or are we on ground fighting, and this is just like setting a scene or whatever, So some of that could have been better. But yeah, so that's basically the end of it. Is he saves Carrie, Superman saves him, they've saved Kandor, Kara's now a thing. I'm sorry, Laura's now a thing. And
Carrie survived.
Yeah, and Carrie survived. She did not die. But she did get all fucked up.
Yeah.
So
I like the last little note where she was like, "Oh man, what about all your cool stuff?" And he's like, "Are you kidding me? A robot T-Rex, a giant penny?" He's like, "That's that's stuff sentimental. I cared about that when I was young."
Yeah, like he doesn't give a fuck about any of that really. But yeah, and that's pretty much how it ends. It just ends with him being like, "Yeah, and I'm still alive." Like he doesn't die in this one.
Yeah.
Or anything. So, so we leave it kind of cliffhanger-ish, and then we won't get another one for 16 more years. So he's on every 16 years he does one. But
and it's only like 3 years in comic time though.
Yes, exactly.
Do you know how long the next one is in between?
It's 16. Oh,
in comic years.
In comic years, I don't know.
Okay, I was just curious. I just because this is so long, but it's only 3 years in the story.
Right. In the story, I don't know how long it was 16 years
we'll
between this and the Last Crusade. So,
yeah.
And the Last Crusade's only one issue, so that should be a little bit of a shorter episode, I guess. But I think it's still a fat issue, so it's probably like 75 pages or something. But
yeah, because to overall, like, there's 3 main big books, but then you said there's 2 individual single issues, right?
Yes. And they both, I assume, follow the story. And the cover of Last Crusade is the Joker, like the old school looking Joker.
Oh, nice.
So I'm interested to see what that's about because I haven't read that one. It's the only one I haven't read.
Awesome. So yeah, so that'll be cool. So you're going to get the big parts and you'll get the couple little parts that are like the connective tissues. So that'll be cool.
Yeah. So anyway, what'd you think of this one?
Yeah, like I said at the beginning, man, I don't, other than, like I said, the art maybe not being up to the standards that you think like the people maybe were expecting.
Right.
It's a cool story and I enjoyed it.
I dug it. I like this universe, and there, like I said, the only thing I didn't like was some of the art was a little confusing or just looked somewhat unfinished.
Yeah.
But
even not being along, like, again, like you said, with a lot of the DC stories, sometimes I'm playing a little catch up on like, who is this or what is that going on? I didn't even have too much of that in this either. It was mainly know if that was Hawkman and his wife or if there was their kids. I didn't quite get that, but for the most part, I was able to be in it, and it was cool. It was a fun story.
Yeah, he does like just assume enough about heroes and stuff or enough about the DCU. So.
Is Laura a character outside of this?
No, this is the only time.
Okay,
this is the first appearance of Laura, the Superman's kid. So
that's cool.
Because in every other, like, Superman's not with Wonder Woman in any other thing.
They tease like them maybe having a relationship, but never like.
Not really. Not in main DC continuity.
Not in main DC. It's only the one-off series where they have possible romance.
I've only ever seen, it's always Superman and Lois Lane in the comics.
See, that's what I get for only reading like little trade stories.
Yeah, like I think this is the first time that was actually like a thing, and then people.
It was cool.
Yeah.
It
makes sense.
That's a great combination of superhero is like the Amazonian power and Kryptonian power.
Right.
Like that's really cool.
Yeah, and so I'm interested to see what you think about Master Race because it's like more. It just continues that storyline.
I'm down. I'm excited.
So yeah, what would you give this one?
Again, I really enjoyed the story. I would probably say, besides some of the art and maybe just a little confusing notes of like where a couple of things like tied together at points, but then reading further, I was like, oh, okay, that's what happened.
Yeah,
I would probably say a 7. It was really good.
I'm gonna give this one an 8, just in context of all the ones I've read.
Yeah,
I enjoyed this one. I thought it was fine. I mean, like if I was telling John earlier, if this came out nowadays, same art, maybe better like nowadays coloring, I think it would be considered without the reference of Dark Knight Returns, and it just came out randomly on its own, like as its own book. I think people would be like, "Wow, this is like a cool, interesting voice and a cool story." Like, to me, it felt fine, and I didn't have a problem with it. I really liked it. So, not sure why I get so much hate, other than it's not as amazing looking as Dark Knight Returns.
It's not as game changing as Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah, exactly.
It is.
It's a sequel.
A great story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're never going to get the Dark Knight Returns again because that was the first one and it was like, what the fuck is this? So you're never going to have that good again, but you can still have a good storyline within that universe. And as long as everything, follows and makes sense, I don't see what the problem is, but everybody else seems to have a problem with it. So whatever. I think they're wrong. So, but anyway, yeah. So I'm going to give this an 8. You said 7.
Mm-hmm. It's solid. I 100% would read it again.
Yeah, and like we said, next time we're going to read The Dark Knight The Dark Knight Returns.
The Last Crusade.
The Last Crusade. Yeah. Anyway, I guess that's it for this time. If you guys got any comments or questions, feel free to email us at Planes, Trains, and Comic Books, all one word, at gmail.com.
Or leave a comment on one of our on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Make sure you're following us too. We got a lot of content, a lot of back catalog that you can check out during this quarantine time.
Yeah.
Hope everybody's staying safe, and we'll catch you next time.
See ya.
Bye.
Well, folks, hope you enjoyed that episode.
If you did and you'd like to follow us on social media, our Facebook is Planes, Trains, and Comic Books, and our Instagram is @Planes, Trains, and Comic Books, all one word.
And be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more recommendations to add to your weekly pull list.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.